welcome to Eat Previous Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. I just recorded a video that is going to be very interesting when it pops up in your feed. I mean, it's definitely a video. I'm not going to give anything away. I'm not going to give anything away. I may tweet out the logo of this new series, but even when I tweet out the logo, you're 100% going to be like, this is the lead episode of this brand new series? Really? Okay. With that out of the way, let's get right into the news. First, we're going to talk about something that we may recognize. Remember the Alex Morse story? Where a bunch of Democratic officials lied about Alex Morse, and then they were like, no, we didn't. And then people were like, oh, I guess they didn't. Yeah, Massachusetts Democratic leadership lied to The Intercept when it denied involvement with a College Democrats of Massachusetts effort that undermined the insurgent congressional campaign of Alex Morse. A new internal report produced by the party has found, among other damning revelations, the report paints a portrait of a party that at best mishandled the situation from start to finish, and at worst deliberately stoked a homophobic smear to undermine Morse's challenge. Yeah, 100% it's the latter. I guarantee you it is the latter. It is 100 million% the latter. I guarantee you it's the latter. There's no way that they were like, maybe this isn't a mistake. They did it deliberately because they knew they could. Alex Morse was not an incumbent, so he didn't have any safety net or anything like that. So they literally smeared him out of the race. They've done it before. They've done it a million times. They'll do it a million more times. The end. That's how it is. The Democratic Party, they'll always try to undermine and get rid of the little guy. But if you want to fight back, you're going to have to actually, push harder. And that's the big thing. That's what you got to do. Okay, anyways, the next story is coming from the GOP, which is an interesting analysis that Marco Rubio has given us. Rubio, GOP must rebrand as a party of multi-ethnic, multiracial working-class voters. Senator Marco Rubio said in an interview released on Wednesday that the Republican Party must change by connecting more with working-class voters as well as people of color. The future of the party is based on a multi-ethnic, multiracial, working-class coalition, Rubio said in an interview with Alana Tria of Axios. Rubio, who was defeated by President Trump in 2016, has positioned himself to be at the center of the debate on how the party evolves moving forward. He has signaled he sees the GOP's future as tied with the values of working-class voters who have turned out in force for Donald Trump. He also signaled the GOP must appeal to a racially diverse electorate. Yeah, that's a smart idea, Marco. Unfortunately, that is 100% never happening in a million years. The GOP will never, ever be a working class party, and if they even attempt at it, I don't think it will work. Because even the fake populists that make up the GOP never follow through. And it's absolutely hilarious that Marco Rubio, of all people, is trying to be like, look, this is what we gotta do to win. Marco, you are literally not even close to that. During the 2016 election, you and pretty much every single other one of the Tea Party people that was elected, they were pushed out for being too establishment. The right populist is almost like those fake lefties that always go like, they get elected so they immediately fail. The difference is the right-wingers are 100% fake populists. Like Josh Hawley, he keeps saying oh no, I'm cool. I'm a protectionist. Or even like someone like a Sagar Anjetti who's like, oh, I'm a populist too. I think that the rich are big baddies. Or someone like friggin' Tucker Carlson. The problem is, they're not populist. They're fakes. Literal frauds. And even to a degree, like, if you, like, right populism, it's just literally just anti-immigration, anti-whatever. Whoever's the scary bad person. Like, in the 1930s, it was the scary Jews. And in this current age, it's like, oh, it's the scary Muslims and Jews. You know, the Jews are the classic trope in every single, like, society when there's, like, a fascistic takeover or, like, this big thing. The Jews are always the first on the short list of, like, oh, big, bad, evil people, blah, blah, blah. It's dumb. It's weird. I don't get it. But, like, these fake populists that, like, even the ones who are, like, on the ground, they might have, like, the right idea, but they don't execute it right. There is no, like, Trump, like, populist type that is going to ever get elected. And this multi-ethnic working class voter thing is going to turn away these voters because, let's be real, this is just an objective truth. At this point, if you voted for Donald Trump, you don't want to be a multi-ethnic party. This is just true. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. At this point, you vote for Trump, you're probably a racist. You're either a racist or you're okay with it at this point. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. And that's pretty much how it's going to be, which is why the GOP is never going to nominate someone who is not a cis white male at this point. They are not. Even if there's like this big growing wing of black conservatives, they're never going to get past they're never going to get the nomination. Never. Because your party, the current state of your party, is the Southern strategy built in. Your whole party strategy is literally the not racist, but whereas the Democratic Party, they've built these bases, and it's the thing, like if it's going to happen, I don't see any possibility of that happen, like, at all. Either the Democrats are going to remain the party of, like, the working class multi-ethnic people, or there's going to be a new party that's going to become that new party of the multi-ethnic working class. The GOP becoming that party is never going to happen. Okay. Anyways, the next story, which is coming from California. Gavin Newsom's short list to replace Kamala Harris in the Senate starts to take shape. Remember, Kamala's the VP now. So at one point, she's going to have to resign her Senate seat. Now here's how it works. In California, they appoint the replacement, and the replacement will serve until the next election, which they can then choose to either run for the full term or decide to drop out and just be that senator until the next senator is filled. Now, of course, there's a decent amount of pressure on Gavin Newsom to replace Kamala Harris with somebody. You see, here's the thing. He's being pressured from literally every single angle. There are some people who are telling him, you cannot appoint a male to this seat. You just can't. There are some people who are saying, you absolutely cannot appoint someone who is not black to this seat. There are some people who are saying, you absolutely cannot appoint someone who is not Hispanic. Because California has yet to have a Hispanic senator, and, appointing a Hispanic senator would actually be like, hey, that's pretty cool, a Hispanic senator. There are some people who are saying, like, you can't appoint someone too far to the left. You can't appoint a person in a swing seat. You can't appoint any of the congressional incumbents. There are people who even taking the opportunity to remind Newsom, don't appoint yourself. He technically could. I think he can, but he wouldn't. Newsom's not an idiot. He would definitely does not want to be like, I'm the white man who's going to replace Kamala Harris. He's not dumb. But the big question at this point is, who will he choose? And it turns out there actually are some people who are trying to position themselves to be the appointed replacement. And according to most people, the leading contender is Secretary of State of California, Alex Padilla. Now, Padilla, he's just like your average, California Democratic establishment type. No. There have been some people who've been saying Gavin Newsom might appoint his lieutenant governor. There have been some people who are saying maybe he'll appoint someone like Xavier Becerra. But the thing is, the left is seeing one issue, group of people that, not a group of people, two people that are seen as, the best case scenario. Let's be real, I don't think he's going to be appointing Ro Khanna anytime soon. However, there has been speculation, given, identity politics kind of jazz. One of the things that many people have obviously been saying is, you gotta appoint a black woman, which has led to many people suspect, and many people in the, circles to confirm that two of the names that are being speculated are Karen Bass and Barbara Lee. For those who might not be in remembrance, Karen Bass was, not that long ago, considered to be Biden's VP, and was considered by many, including people like Ro Khanna, to be, the correct choice for that spot. Barbara Lee may have a lot more name recognition in left circles, She's been well known. She replaced Ron Dellums. She, voted against, the authorization of use of military force for Iraq. And she's had a generally progressive record. The one big, wheel, the wrench in the gear was sort of her endorsement of Kamala Harris, which some people have attributed to, Reggie Jones Sawyer, a person who would later endorse Bernie in the cycle. He said, the reason why he's a progressive guy, but then, he endorsed Kamala Harris. Many people were like, yo, what the F, bro? And then when Kamala Harris dropped out and then he decided to endorse Bernie, he said, look, I loved Bernie, and I loved Bernie in 2016, but let's be real. When a sister's running, you can't not support a sister running. Many people have been saying, oh, well, maybe that's what Barbara Lee did. You gotta support a black woman running, especially considering how, Kamala was running a very Shirley Chisholm-esque campaign. She announced her campaign the day Shirley Chisholm announced her campaign. Her buttons were literally Shirley Chisholm looking, and her slogan was I think unbought and unbossed. She was 100% trying to give off the Shirley Chisholm vibes. So maybe Barbara Lee was Chisholm is my mentor. And some people are even looking at this maybe this was the dirty trick all along. She endorsed Kamala just so she can get in favor to be the replacement. I don't know. If Barbara Lee was appointed, that would be fine. I would be down for Barbara Lee as senator. But, that would lead to one issue. You see, I would love Barbara Lee to be senator. That'd be cool. But I would really love Ro Khanna to be senator, because Ro Khanna is better. But I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's sort of for the best. If Barbara Lee were the senator, we'd still have Ro Khanna in the House. But if Ro Khanna ran for the seat and lost, we'd just lose Ro Khanna altogether. So I'd be down if Barbara Lee were senator, and I would even go into the step further and say that I would not support a primary bid against her. Karen Bass, on the other hand, I could see myself supporting a primary bid against her. However, that will not be Ro Khanna, because Ro Khanna was literally the guy who was saying she should be the VP candidate. So you can't really say, hey, I want you to be vice president, but I don't want you to be senator. You get what I'm saying? Ro Khanna would probably endorse her. She did endorse Kevin De Leon over Allison Hartson during the initial primary for the other Senate seat. So, I mean, he's definitely a bit in the Washington bubble. But honestly, if Barbara Lee were appointed senator, I'd be down. Whatever. Though, I would be sad if Barbara Lee did that whole thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to be the senator, but I'm also going to not run for the full term. It's like, come on, don't do that. If you're chosen to be the senator, just serve full time, whatever. I don't care. Next story, coming from Mexico. The opposition has begun. We've been seeing this. There was speculation that there was going to be this big anti-AMLO coalition going into the 2021 elections. That coalition has officially formed. PRI, PAN, and PRD joining together to try and crush AMLO. The PRD is officially dead to me. The fact of the matter is, this is how they're going to try and do the soft coup. They're going to try and win big in this midterm election. That way they can try and undermine AMLO at any means necessary. And then, coming into the next election, they will unite under this huge, big banner. I 100% speculate that Ricardo Anaya, who's already speculated to run for president in 2024, he will inevitably be that person. And we gotta stop it any way we can. There seems to be a lot of things coming. I mean, there are even some pro-AMLO minor parties that are being formed. Things are going to be weird in this 2021 midterms, but I will say this now. I will be endorsing the Together We Will Make History coalition. At least 2/3 of it. Because I'll be honest, Mexican Green Party? You're not cool. I like Morena. I like PT. Sorry, but that's all I like down there. PFM, you only get slightly better because, you're not trying to kill AMLO, so that's down. Okay, anyways, last story before we get to the main topic is about the boy himself, Bernie. Bernie Sanders is actively running for Labor Secretary. Now, I know there's been another story where Biden said, I'm poo-pooing any potential of Bernie joining the cabinet. But let's be real. Bernie officially stating that he is looking into joining the cabinet is probably too big of a pill to ignore. Even for, the Biden folks who are like, oh, we need to do the, corporate establishment, la la la. Even then, it's probably a bit too much for them to ignore Bernie himself literally joining the cabinet. What are my thoughts? Mixed. On one hand, Bernie in the Senate is way better than Bernie in a cabinet position. On the other hand, that particular cabinet position could be a good use of Bernie's assets. Where would you want a leftist most in a cabinet? Labor Secretary, no duh. You would definitely like them in other cabinet positions, but let's be real, labor is kind of the left's expertise. Another pro, I would get to endorse a person running for the 2021 special election, because many people were saying, oh, well, they would, have a, the Republican would endorse and put someone in who's a Republican, but it's for starters, he said that he would have put a Democrat-minded independent, and second, there would be a special election to decide who would be the, person going in, who would be the next senator. And that would be an interesting idea to see. I 100% speculate that Bernie's not going to be running for re-election in 2024, even for his Senate seat. So it's fair to say, might be better to just get that thing out of the way of picking his successor in the Senate now instead of later. Another con would be being a member of the cabinet might make Bernie's hands tied a bit more. You see, if he's a member of the cabinet, his idea of endorsing millions of people against incumbents, or maybe that would even tie him down on what he can and can't do, because maybe Biden might be like, yo, Bernie, maybe haul back a little bit on that stuff. So, it's like one of those weird things. It's like the gains and the cons are like mixed. Personally, I'd prefer him stay in the Senate and then maybe get like, Robert Reich to be in the position. Robert Reich, he knows how to be Secretary of Labor. He's done it before. And he's still probably be one of the best Secretary of Labors that the U.S. has had, TBH. So yeah, it definitely would be cool to see Bernie in the cabinet, but it would also be cool to see him in the Senate doing his duty, at least for the short time we have left with him. Okay, anyways, now let's move on to the main topic of this video. Richard Medhurst. Richard Medhurst is very interesting. You see, he's... Okay, well, let's just read his Twitter bio so you can get a sense of who he is. Journalist, Syrian/British, fluent in English, French, Arabic, and German. He's he's an independent media creator. He makes videos and such, mostly dealing with, politics, my field. Except, of course, he has different expertises. You see, I mean, not to give a generalization, but like given his bio, and the fact that he literally says like I'm Syrian, does give a bit of indication about his expertise. And yeah, he mostly focuses on foreign policy oriented stuff. Like, let's just read some of his videos. Journalists who cheered the invasion of Iraq cut off truth. Evo Morales returns to Bolivia. America just replaced one monster with another. Joe Biden wins election. 2020 election coverage. United States merchant of death and destruction. Vienna terror attack. Palestinian man on 100 days hunger strike. Joe Biden forgets Donald Trump's name. Nancy Pelosi clashes with blitzers. Social media censors Hunter Biden. A majority of those were foreign policy based. And it's a good thing, I guess. It's one of those things, and it comes at a cost with goods and bads. Yes, it's good that these things are being reported on. However, it also is one of those he does veer into this sort of super, super, super anti-imperialist kind of thing. Now that's the thing. That's the biggest thing that is interesting. You become so anti-imperialist, you become imperialist in a way. I mean, I'll get to that. I'll get to one aspect when I get to it. But he kind of came around. I don't know exactly when he first started making political videos. That's a thing that would be interesting to know, because I guarantee you it was not too long ago, because he is sort of like other figures in this area, like a Kim Iverson type, or what's another figure, like Crystal Ball. Well, I mean, Crystal Ball's slightly different, I guess, but when I think about him, whenever I think about him, I think Kim Iverson. Well, I mean, even Kim Iverson's a bit more like Crystal Ball than him, but 1 minute they're not there. Then the next moment they're there. Like Richard Medhurst. 1 minute I never knew he existed. The next moment he just appears. And a lot of other people seem to have that same thing. They never heard of him, and then all of a sudden he just showed up. Now, I mean, of course you could say well, that just happens to everybody. Yeah, they just show up at one point. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I myself was a content creator that just showed up one day. One day I just decided, make political videos. Why not? As I said, Richard Medhurst, he's sort of in that field, the grumpy Bernie Sanders type field. They're so anti-establishment. They're so imperialist that they go against their own interests in a degree. One of the things that he frequently likes to do that, I guess is supposed to show his policy chops, is that he frequently goes after the most left people in Congress. He frequently attacks AOC. He frequently attacks, these newcomers like Jamal Bowman, Rashida and Ilhan, like, he frequently attacks them for, like, being the soft imperialist types. He also joined in, like, that big anti-Howie hate that was going on for, like, again, it's not even, I don't know, like, it's weird. He doesn't talk about the Green Party, like, primary at all. Then he gets a video of, like, Howie Hawkins being slightly weird on Syria. Then all of a sudden he's, like, frequently like, how dare Howie, he's evil, soft imperialist. Come on, dude, really? Like, and I want to focus on, like, Jamal, I guess, in a degree, because he's been going heavy on Jamal Bowman, which is fucking ridiculous, because he hasn't even had a chance to disappoint yet. He hasn't gotten to Congress yet. And one of the frequent attacks that he likes to give is, like, Jamal Bowman and Richie Torres are, like, the same person. For those who don't know, like, I mean, of course, it doesn't mean the exact same person, but, like, I'll get to it like, for those who don't know, Richie Torres is an individual who was also a surprise victory in a crowded primary in New York. He was running for Jose Serrano's seat. He's gay, he's black, and he's super pro-Israel. And he's been frequently trying to associate Jamal Bowman with Richie Torres when, like, they're not at all equivocal. Like, in any degree, really. One of the things he did was, like, he was, like, saying, like, oh, people who really like Jamal Bowman and Richie Torres are actually, like, they're fakes and they're not real progressives. It's like, Richard, not a single progressive likes Richie Torres. Not a single one. You know how bad Richie Torres is? Richie Torres was so bad that he was one of the 4 Democrats that the Working Families Party did not endorse. One of the other ones that they did not endorse is his self-espoused mentor, Max Rose, who freaking lost. Richie Torres is not part of the squad. He will never even be close to the squad. The squad hasn't even been, like, fake being his friend. Like, I've been seeing tweets of, like freshman orientation of, like, the Congress people, and they've been, like, talking with, like, Sarah Jacobs, and, like, Richard Torres is nowhere to be seen because they don't like him. Like, Richie Torres, he leads with, like, I'm a pro-Israel progressive. And it's like, nobody leads with that. Richie Torres is point blank stated he's not going to be part of the squad. So I don't understand why you're bringing him up in comparison. He doesn't have a single piece of legislation or plans on his website. Because he literally was running on the fact, like, I'm gay, the end. Literally, in that race, there were different candidates running on, like, different things. Like, Michael Blake was running on, like, oh, I'm the black candidate. Richie Torres was like, oh, I'm the gay candidate. Ruben Diaz Sr. was like, oh, I'm the Trump candidate. San Luis Lopez, oh, I'm the socialist. Tomas Ramos, oh, I'm the not socialist progressive. Melise Mark Vivranto, or whatever her name is, was like, oh, I'm the New York style progressive. And those were the divides. Richie Torres made it bluntly clear where he stood during the election, and he hasn't turned back. So I don't get why you keep trying to associate Jamal Bowman and Richie Torres. One of the big things that he keeps trying to do with that is Jamal Bowman's foreign policy. He claims that Jamal Bowman is a Zionist shill, much like Richie Torres. He literally has a tweet that says Jamal Bowman and Richie Torres are Zionist shills who oppose BDS. There is absolutely nothing exciting about progressives who support ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians. Funny. I guess I missed that part on Jamal Bowman's website. I literally did Control F to Israel, and now let's see his entire segment about Israel on his website. We must support peace, dignity, and security for all Israelis and Palestinians. I support a two-state solution and believe in democracy and self-determination for the Israeli and Palestinian people. I believe firmly in the right of Israelis to live in safety and peace, free from fear and violence and terrorism, and support continued U.S. aid to help Israel confront these security challenges. I also believe Palestinians are entitled to basic human rights, safety from violence, and self-determination in a state of their own. I do not support BDS. These commitments to supporting security and freedom for all are not mutually exclusive, and as a member of Congress, I will support policies that promote the long-term interests of the United States and both peoples. We must also have honest conversations about our government's role in enabling the continued occupation of the Palestinian people. Our taxpayer dollars should not be going towards subsidizing settlement payments, home demolitions, the detention of Palestinian children, or in any way supporting the threatened Israeli annexation of the West Bank. Past presidents like Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush used our financial leverage to promote peace in the region as well. We must ensure that the U.S. uses it to address the very real security threats Israel faces, not to entrench the occupation. That doesn't particularly sound bad per se. I mean, is it perfect? Probably not. But it's still a heck of a lot better than what Elliot Engel would have supported. You know, Israel can do nothing wrong. The end. And I mean, buddy, if you think this is being a progressive, quote-unquote, that hates Palestinians and stuff, you should have seen what people like Anthony Weiner was saying. But I do think it's a degree of being contrarian for contrarian's sake, in a sense, because I don't even 100% understand what he wants. Like, I watched 2 of his videos about, like, Jamal Bowman, and I'm pretty sure one of them ends with him literally saying, like, Jamal Bowman supports, like, you know, the Israeli occupation, and he something like that, like, which of course doesn't make sense, because I just read on his website that he does not support expansion or Israeli occupation of more of the land that they don't have currently. What do you mean? Do you literally expect a member of Congress to literally say, like, I want Israel to disappear and go away? Because that's never going to happen. Like, if you want an actual policy-oriented thing to do for a progressive to actually accomplish in regards to the Israel-Palestine situation, then by all means, propose it. But that will 100% not involve the literal removal of all the Israelis from Palestine. There's not going to be a Palestine from sea to shining sea. I'm sorry, but that's just being blunt. The most you can work for is to stop the killing, stop the expansion, and try to make a literal two-state solution, point blank. Like, even Rashida's, like, thing where she tries to do, like, I support a one-state solution where we all have the right to go home wherever we feel like it. No, that's not gonna work. It doesn't fix anything. Also, here's another thing of, like, him shitting on progressives. Again, he frequently shits on the Squad and AOC. One of the things that he crapped on her on was something where he literally hated the AOC, like, Twitch bill. For those of you who don't know, here is the AOC Twitch bill, or more accurately, the Twitch amendment. It was an amendment that was introduced in a larger bill where she stated, quote, "None of the funds appropriated or otherwise made available by this act may be used by any of the armed forces for Twitch.tv or esports activities." Now you see, that bill caused a lot of controversy in the fake left anti-imperialist movement. You see, they, got really mad because they were like, oh, this bill doesn't do anything. This bill's stupid. This bill is lame. This bill, she claims like it's going to be doing these big things, but really it won't do this thing. I even remember someone was claiming, not Richard, but someone was claiming that this bill would make it so that the army could not watch Twitch anymore. And it was hurting the U.S. military because it means that they can't watch Ninja play a video game. Well, that makes no sense considering AOC literally says point blank this is what the bill is for. I present this amendment by opening with the stance of the U.S. Marine Corps, which is that a war is not a game. I am quoting the Marines. The Marine Service brand and issues associated with combat are too serious to be gamified in a responsible manner. Now, this amendment is specifically to block recruitment practices and funding for recruitment practices on platforms such as Twitch.tv, which are live streaming platforms that are largely populated by children as young as 13 and oftentimes as young as 12, are targeted for recruitment forms that can be filled in online. This amendment is in direct alignment with both of these values, but also the values that children should not be targeted in general for marketing purposes in addition to military service. That sounds like a very reasonable thing to suggest. Here's Richard Medhurst's response to the bill.
I mean, this is a farce. Look, let me explain something very simply. When you come to my country and you occupy my oil and you deprive my family of food and income, I really don't care if the people doing it, the grunts that are occupying my food, my oil, my land, were recruited on Twitch or at a Dunkin' Donuts or in high school. I really don't give a fuck. Because at the end of the day, they are still oppressors, they are colonizers, and they are in my land illegally.
Look, to a degree, I get what he's saying. I do get to a degree what he's saying, but you need to understand that the reason why you have the grunts in the military is because the military lies to their children and tells them, hey, join the military, it's fun, we get to kill brown people for funsies. Well, I mean, I guess that commercial wouldn't be a lie, but banning the military from advertising on Twitch would effectively be one of the biggest nails in the coffin for military recruitment. Because that's what the military needs. The military needs for dumb people who are young, who don't know what to do in life, who are just fucking stupid and play video games all day, they're already desensitized to violence. They need those kinds of people in order to keep the military ranks going. Because there aren't that many people who are signing up for the military at this point. A lot of people in this day and age, they understand what the military does. They understand the risks of joining the military. They understand like PTSD and all these other things. And they don't like any of it. Which is why military recruitment consistently goes younger and younger and younger. You know, back in the day, I guarantee you, people were like signing up for the military when they were like during the 40s, like people were signing up for the military like as young kids voluntarily. Then people realized, hey, military service isn't that cool. We illegally occupy countries, we get PTSD, maybe we don't do that. So then military started going directly to college students to try and recruit them. Now they're going to high school students, and now they're aiming for literal children. Because people are wising up to this. But these kids, they're not going to wise up. So you have to effectively cut off the ability to advertise to them and try to sell them the silver platter of, oh, the military service is great and blah, blah, blah. You can also do it via other methods. A lot of people who do try to join the military or like do basic training, I guess, they do it because they get a college opportunity or they get like healthcare or something like that. Provided for those, you'll end up getting rid of the military idea for that as well. We're doing the same goal. We're trying to reach the same goal. But the fact of the matter is, for some reason, you're trying to draw this arbitrary line. Like, no, you trying to tackle it via this way isn't good enough. When at the time it was proposed, it was the only thing she could do. It's not a farce. It's a good idea. I mean, yeah, I know there are some people who are not going to be necessarily too keen either way. But I mean, there are some things that we need to understand. And we gotta look at it just objectively. And objectively, that is a good idea, and it would be effectively one step to get to that end goal of, like, stop the imperialism. Speaking of imperialism, there was one interesting thing that happened with Richard Medhurst that was very interesting. You see, remember how I told you, I think I said it a couple of times during this episode, like, they get so anti-imperialist and they end up being imperialist again? I said that on accident, but, like, it technically is to a degree true, because Richard Medhurst, he works for the Iranian government now. More specifically, he works for a news network for them, for a subsidiary of their national Iranian television network called Press TV. That's not what a show's called, but that's what the network is called. He runs a show, and it's sort of like it's sort of like an RT situation. I should make one of these thoughts on videos on, like, a RT, because RT to a degree is sort of like this, because, like, a lot of people remember they were saying, like, oh, RT is pretty much the Russian government mouthpiece, blah blah blah, the Russian state propaganda network. This is a sort of similar situation, except, and he tried to, like, do, like, a sort of RT, like, expedition, like, oh, no, you don't understand. I write my own networks, I write my own stories, and, they don't really have any involvement and connection to this, except the fact that they give me the platform to stand on. Except that everybody quickly pointed out, very bluntly, and even I knew this 100% when I was, like, RT, it's like, yeah, but if you made an episode critiquing the Iranian government, would they let that air? Now, I'm not particularly into the kind of, like, thing where it's like, oh, he works for RT, so he's obviously 100% bad, or he works for this, but, like, unlike RT, which has already been a well-established network that has had literal, real journalists 100% on there, they've had Tom Hartman, Ed Schultz, Larry King, Press TV, it doesn't really have that, like, same field. And even then with RT, it was pretty bluntly obvious you could do anything on the network except for critique the Russian government. And that's sort of the same thing with this. You can do anything he wants except for critique the Iranian government. But I mean, and here's the thing, like, and it's a blunt truth that I gotta be clean about. There is an overlap between what the anti-imperialists want and what Iran wants. That is just 100% verifiably true. That does not mean that every single anti-imperialist is in the pocket of, like, the enemy government that doesn't want us to be involved in their military efforts. But it does get sus when they start making money from that government. Like, I mean, I know I did state, like, in a previous episode, I think, like, oh, it'd be cool to work for RT, because then I could do this show, but except do it on a higher level. But yeah, I wouldn't work for RT, and I wouldn't work for Press TV. If literally, like, the Mexican state news or something tried to contact me to be like, hey, do more pro-AMLO stuff, and we'll give you money. No, I'm not gonna do that. Because the second you start making money off of, like, your opinions, then all of a sudden your opinions become lackluster. I say what I say because I want to say it, not because I'm being paid to say it. And that doesn't mean his independent ventures are immediately bad. But I mean, again, it will be incredibly sus for most people to be like, Like, I mean, yeah, people will legitimately now realize, well, I mean, they'll think 100%, like, I mean, he's being literally paid by the Russian government, not the Russian government, like, the Iranian government. Now his opinion is immediately soured. Like, for example, if you, it's like it's literally selling out to a degree. Now, of course, you might say, well, I mean, he already had these opinions to begin with, so it's not really selling out. But I mean, come on. If you weren't gonna get paid for it before, why get paid for it now? Now you add credence to the idea of you being an asset to this government, when you could have literally just been like, look, I don't get paid for them. I do this for free. I run a Patreon. But yeah, I guess that's all I gotta say on this topic. Richard Medhurst? Not my thing really, TBH. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video when it comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.